Hello everyone, and welcome to another Dwarven Tavern video. With me, I am Dr. Jeff Goins, and with me is, in the tavern, is...
Lyric. I am Lyric. Nice to meet you.
And today we are going to be talking, we're doing a series of videos about race.
Since we already did a video about classes, we thought this would be fair and even.
Right, and you know, of course, with race comes how fast is your car.
No. That's not the type of
finishes first.
That's not the type of race we're talking about.
Oh. So, of course, we thought we would start with the odds-on favorite.
Dwarves.
I was going to say Richard Petty. Dwarves are of the Dwarven Tavern. They are the most preferably seated of all the races.
Well, just to clarify, we are only going to do the starter races in the player's handbook and cover those in the 3.5. For now, if you have requests or want us to do a specific race, please comment below or message us, of course, and we will cover them. But for now, we're just going to start with the ones that we have available to us.
And not only that, we've got the Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is a game. We've got that book out, and we also have the Pathfinder core rule book. But this will also apply to 5th edition as well, because the 5th edition, 4th edition also applies. Dwarves are battle leaders, as is everything else except paladins in 4th edition. And it also applies to 1st and 2nd editions as well, because dwarves and all of the core races, like she was saying, all of the core races have the same. I mean, they're essentially the same. They're essentially the same races.
Yes, they are all taken from a specific source, and then they branch out, and they have minor details that are different, but otherwise they're the same race.
Which is actually one of the things that I want to talk all about later is the sub races within the major race, like dwarves. And even though I'm not a big fan of the Dragonlance series, especially the Gully Dwarves, I despise the Gully Dwarves because they're like the freaking idiot homeless beggars of the dwarf world. And any self-respecting hill or mountain dwarf would kill. The race would not exist. Okay, that's just what I'm saying. Just because they're such an embarrassment to the dwarves on the whole.
Yes.
But that's for later on in the video. Right now we're going to talk about dwarves, and this applies to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
It's okay.
3.5.
You can just say all.
Pathfinder and 5th edition. So take it away.
Okay, so we are going to be covering basically, I guess, how to roleplay a dwarf appropriately, how to encapsulate their type of personality and the decisions that you make, how you can base that off of what they are instead of just who they are and their classes. So, a dwarf is very much known for their facial hair, but there is character underneath it. And that character is usually stereotypically seen as the brash and crude and fight-oriented mindset. And
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, it's a stereotype.
Yeah.
That's the stereotype that we're dealing with. And I'm going to be saying of how to branch out of that and how to make your dwarf more interesting. So,
and that doesn't mean to necessarily make them sensitive.
Well, I mean, sensitivity is not a bad thing. You can have a very sensitive dwarf and them still be manly.
Well, I know I'm very sensitive.
And he's very manly.
And I'm very mean.
He's probably the manliest man I know. So, and he's...
Sorry, Josh.
Very sensitive.
I am sensitive. I am so sensitive that... Well, I can't even think of anything I'm sensitive about, but I am. I really am.
You're so sensitive, you pass on them genes to me.
I can't even think about it.
So, in order to add character to your character, go, as I've said beyond in previous videos, go beyond the stereotypes and add more flavor that way.
Vanilla.
But if you want to keep the mindset of the dwarf intact, don't just, I mean, you can read the guidelines as presented here, but you can also go off of other books,
Mint.
like the Pathfinder series and the other D&D books, and
Almond.
you can stop it any given time. So the personality of the dwarf, I don't even agree with this first line. It says dwarves are slow to laugh or jest and suspicious of strangers.
Shit.
Right. So, I mean, we're both dwarves.
Yeah.
We are of the same cloth because I was made from your cloth. So.
The cloth of mine loin.
And we laugh all the damn time.
Every
Day. Minute.
Every minute of every day.
And we always joke and jest. And
No, we joke in serious.
so it's very important that even though these guidelines are presented to you, that you can go against them. So if you want to add character to your dwarf, I think that's the reason that they say that dwarves aren't funny is because they're usually used as funny in shows and movies. For example, Gimli being the butt of the joke in the Tolkien movies.
And I must say that is my favorite thing to hate about all movies that depict dwarves is that okay, Gimli. In a way, Peter Jackson portrayed Gimli, I thought, was the closest to doing dwarves justice because, yeah, it was funny when Gimli put on the chainmail shirt. Spoiler alert, and it hit the floor.
It's been out for a while.
Yeah, I know, but, you know. When he put on the chainmail shirt and it hit the floor and he said, it's a bit tight in the chest, because that's exactly what would have happened. That's exactly what he would have done, and that's exactly what he would have said.
But I don't see that necessarily as the comment, like the funny. Like, that wasn't the comic relief. That was actually a culturally funny thing to them in the movie. That wasn't just for our amusement, like it was when he was tossed by his beard or caught by his beard.
The ultimate gesture of friendship between elf and dwarf was when Gimli was standing at the wall and said he couldn't see, and he said, I can't see, because he couldn't see, and Legolas said, shall I lift you up or get you a box? And Gimli laughed. He's like, oh, I see what you did there. And that was a beautiful moment. That actually kind of brought a tear to my eye because you know, if you said that to a dwarf,
if you said that,
if you were a human, if you were another dwarf and said that to a dwarf and walked away alive, you would be lucky. You'd be a lucky person.
Or that dwarf was a very, very young dwarf and didn't know how to fight.
But the fact that an elf, A, and said that to a dwarf, B, and lived, and not only lived, but actually was, you know, Gimli laughed, man. That was like the besties right there. Besties forever.
Right. Like there was no questioning. They were friends for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in order to bring that to your game, you just have to keep in mind what dwarves are, not only what their personalities are like, but also how they can interact with other characters. And for a dwarf, like, you can actually use us at the tavern as examples because we all identify as dwarves. So we all
with short attention spans, apparently. I'm looking for the Dungeon Master's Guide.
There's one up there, right there.
It is. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
Like, all of our personalities are very different, and yet we all are dwarves. We all are the same thing. And I have to say how Peter Jackson showed...
Jackson?
That's what I said.
Peter Jackson.
How he displayed the dwarves, the 13 dwarves of The Hobbit really rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like the
I didn't care for that. I didn't like that either. I don't think there's any, even if they're shorter, they're not skinny.
No, they're very bulky.
Yeah, and they had the fake hands that said dwarf, because
but
and then
this,
of course
this wasn't.
The thin faces and the prettiness of Feely and Killy.
Feely and Killy, I feel like they were ruined.
Yeah, they were
my favorite characters in The Hobbit.
Yeah, I didn't care for that much myself.
No.
I have to agree with that.
No,
because not all dwarves look the same. Because you had it was it Owen that had the mohawk? He was freaking badass right there.
Yeah, no.
The mohawk. Bomber? No, it wasn't Bomber.
Bali.
Biffer? Dwalin. No,
yeah.
Dwalin.
Balin was the older.
Yeah. Those were dwarves.
He was my favorite, I think, of the movie, Balin.
Yeah, very wise. And then
he was a grandpa.
And then we remember seeing his tomb.
So, too soon.
It's too soon.
No.
It's only been thousands and thousands of years.
Ori.
Oh.
Ori was my bane with the Hobbit movie. Where was his beard?
Was he against Batman?
No, Ori, the youngest dwarf.
Yeah.
Feely and Killy were the youngest dwarves. They were said to be the youngest dwarves in The Hobbit very many times. And yes, I said that. And he was supposedly
very several.
The youngest dwarf in the Hobbit movie. And I did not enjoy that at all. Their beards also bothered me a lot, and their different hairstyles.
Well, I'm sure they do.
The dwarves that they were somehow turned out to be a circus act, and their individuality was almost a joke. And I realized that was almost done so that they could tell them apart. But they were color-coded in The Hobbit.
Wow.
So
they really were, weren't they?
They were. I know that there was green, purple, silver, blue, light blue, dark blue. They were color coded, and that was unnecessary. But anyway, a dwarf.
Gripes aside,
the dwarf of the campaign can be a little more rugged. Usually is compared to the human or the elf. They're usually a little more. They're not even stoic. They're just more. They're a harder version of what the other characters could be. Because you can have a rougher version of an elf, and that could be a dwarf, because they could have a very defined, a very educated, a very graceful dwarf, and the most graceful dwarf will still be more clumsy than the clumsiest elf.
That is probably true.
So you can have an elf-like dwarf, but he's still a dwarf. He's still got big feet and big hands and a big head.
So you're dealing with a distinct set of phenotype traits. Yes.
You have to take those into consideration when you make the dwarf. Like the dwarf is the dwarf is always 9/10 fallen. So, which is an ongoing joke here at the tavern, because when we fall, we go bunk, and that's it. That's all we do. So,
I've fallen, and I'm still up.
I can just, and then just fall over to the other side.
Right. Now, if you want to help give your dwarf a different set of behavior traits, or just different tendencies, because when you're playing an MMO, and I did the video on RPGs versus MMOs. They're all the same. It's a cookie cutter thing because it's a video game.
Yes.
But there are as many different dwarves as there are. There are many different behavior patterns and tendency patterns, traits, as there are dwarves. So while you can temper your dwarf, you start out with vanilla, and the typical stoic, grumpy, overserious dude. And then if you go to page 128 here in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and it just in D&D, and there's something like this for Pathfinder and 5th edition as well, where they have a number of traits that you can actually roll up at random just for kicks, if you want. You can have the different traits. For example, you can have a trait such as stares off in the distance. Well, sure. Or an individualist, or aloof, or proud, or foppish. Okay, imagine a foppish dwarf.
I was just actually going all the traits that you were saying.
Right. So if you had a foppish... a jumpy and foppish dwarf, that would be a challenge.
Named Gilmoth.
Let's see, Gilmoth
Hardstone.
Gilmoth Gold Cod, because he's got this golden cod piece, because he's foppish. And he's got this basically...
Hardstone would work either.
Hardstone. He's got this gold cod piece.
That's his nickname.
And yeah, they call him Hardstone. And no, actually, his nickname would be Pebble. Because he's a jerk, and this would be like something that you could be challenged to play.
Yes.
Because we love to challenge ourselves with playing different. Like me, I was challenged by Josh, Taverneer Josh, and Lyric to play a drow, which I don't like the drow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like elves that much. They're okay. I mean, some of them are pretty cool. I actually have one of my favorite.
You have
characters.
A racial disposition.
I do have a racial disposition. One of my favorite elves is my elf in Scavrius,
who has been mentioned many times in the videos.
Yeah, he's a little wild elf, and he stands about yay tall, and he's got a bow that could give a Gatling gun a run for its money. And he's awesome. He's an awesome little elf, and I love him. But playing the drow, which her name is Eslith.
She's probably the coolest character that you... One of the many coolest characters that you have.
Well, she's
pretty badass.
She's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I often I don't really find myself getting attached to characters that start out higher than first level, because Taverneer Josh wanted me to start her out at like 5th level. 7th level, and I'm like...
Or you...
Yeah,
you started out at 5th, and then you...
And then I got experience up to 7th.
Because I was like 2nd or 3rd, because I was only a petty thief.
Yeah, and the thief had to follow the drow, and yes, I say drow. You may say drow if you choose. But
here at the tavern,
it's drow. And she was playing a character who had to obey Eslith, and every time he
complained.
Every time he complained, Eslith reminded him that his position was currently better than prison.
Yeah, so better than a drow prison.
Go check for traps. Go check that door for traps. But I don't. It's better than prison.
And I was a half orc, of course. Grumble. Added to my mini collections of half orcs.
Yeah, she has mini collections.
Mini collections.